Well, thank you for being with us this afternoon. This is a very exciting day, a great announcement, a great event, the Take Back Day, Drug Take Back Day. And as you know, Florida is in the midst of an opioid epidemic. We lose 17 lives a day. So as we stand here right now, the likelihood that we've lost another Floridian to overdose is high. And it is a tremendous testament that you see federal leaders, state and local leaders banded together to call out how important it is that the community helps us in our efforts. We have to be proactive and protective of unused and unwanted drugs and make sure that they're turned in, because when they are not, that's when friends and family may pilfer medicine cabinets, and that act alone can lead to overdose or even death. So this is a great effort by the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, who are the creators and sponsors of Drug Take Back Day. And tomorrow marks the 18th time the DEA has hosted this event. And since the program's inception, more than 11 million pounds of expired, unused, unwanted prescription medications have been removed from Americans' medicine cabinets. Yay. That is a tremendous accomplishment. Last time they sponsored Drug Take Back Day, more than 30,000 pounds of medication was turned over in a single day. Just last week, I was at a local high school here in Tampa to announce an expansive investigation into the teen vaping epidemic. We know now that 1 in 4 teens in Florida admits to vaping. We also know that 2/3 of young people don't even know that vaping products contain nicotine. And we also know that 8 in 10 high schoolers have seen advertising for these products. You have heard stories about vaping around the nation leading to hospitalizations, and parents left confused and bewildered how their children were ever exposed to the harm to this habit. And certainly they would be the first to line up and say, it is not a harmless habit. If you are a parent and you have teenagers or middle schoolers, sadly I can tell you from my tour of Florida, vaping has even crept into elementary schools. If you have children, I ask that you be active, engaged, proactive. Go through their items. Go through their closets. Go through their drawers. And determine if they are the 1 in 4 children who have taken up what they believe to be a harmless habit of vaping. It is not. Vaping and the nicotine can damage the developing brain. To use a line from Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. It reminds me of when I was younger and I said to my parents, you don't trust me. You can say, I trust you, I'm just going to verify. That is being active and engaged parents. That is overseeing to make sure that you are monitoring their activities and keeping them safe. And the reason I get into this is because DEA has announced, as part of Drug Take Back Day, they will also be taking vaping devices. So use this as an opportunity. If you find these devices, number 1, have the all-important discussion with your child about the dangers. Number 2, maybe it would be a good field trip for them to accompany you to Drug Take Back Day and turn them in. If we are active, proactive, if we protect not only opioids, but vaping devices from being in the wrong hands, we can make a difference and save lives. And I'm grateful that I have so many partners up here today to help me remind those in the communities of that important fact. And now I would ask up the ASAC, Mark Ferguson, to make a few remarks. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Attorney General Moody, and our state and local partners here who are, for their unwavering support, not only to our daily enforcement operations, but today, during the announcement of the National Take Back Initiative for DEA. It's scheduled tomorrow, the 26th of October, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. As of October 15th, more than 4,538 partners have signed up to register with DEA. That's more than 5,000 collection sites. We hope to attain 6,000. Hopefully Florida comes out in numbers. Starting with this October's campaign, as the Attorney General stated, DEA will now accept vaping and cartridges, the vaping devices and the cartridges, in addition to the tablets, capsules, patches, and other medications in solid forms. At any of its drop-off locations, we'll take these from you voluntarily, free, and anonymous. DEA is doing all it can to help dispose safely of vaping devices and liquids. These products need to be off our streets. It's endangering our children and endangering our families. Helping people to dispose of potentially harmful prescription drugs is just one way the DEA is working to reduce the addiction and overdose deaths plaguing the country due to opioid medications. As public awareness of the opioid epidemic severity increases, Americans are confronted with the reality that this hits home. It's not the old addict that you saw underneath the street, living underneath a corner or on the corners. It hits home today. These prescription medications and opioids are ending up in the wrong hands, and this epidemic is feeding what is killing more Americans than weapon violence and car accidents. Participating in the next DEA Take Back initiative is simple. Just Think Twice is a website you can go to. Additionally, you can go to DEATakeback.com. Saturday, October 26th from 10 to 2. Turn in these unwanted, unused, and unneeded medications and keep them out of the hands of our children, keep them safe, and keep them alive. Thank you.
Sheriff.
Let me begin by thanking once again Attorney General Moody for her tireless efforts and always keeping Floridians safe. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to highlight such an important program. I stand proud with all our law enforcement partners here in the Tampa Bay area, knowing that tragically we see too many of these unused medications falling into the hands of our young people, our juveniles. Take advantage. We're here to plead with our community. Take advantage of this program. It's quick, it's easy, it's convenient, it's a no questions asked program. It's as simple as pulling in, dropping off that unused medication, and driving away. There's absolutely no excuse, no reason not to take advantage of this program. The benefits, again, this keeps medication out of falling into the wrong hands. And that idea of, hey, listen, I'll just flush it down our toilets, I'll just flush it down the drain. Imagine the environmental impact that has on our water system. So again, Attorney General Moody, thank you for helping highlight this initiative. Again, we plead our community, take advantage of this program. It couldn't be more easy, convenient, no question asked program. Thank you, General.
Again, like Sheriff Cronster said, I can't say it better. General Moody is spearheading another effort to make our state safer. And at the same time, you see some of our law enforcement partners up here, and the vast majority of the time, it's not about big arrests that make the big impact in our community. It's the small things that are more meaningful. And this drug take back, working with the DEA, this is the most powerful thing. You know, you used to hear about Skittle parties. You know, it was a term that used to be termed out there where high school kids would just go in the medicine cabinets of their grandparents and family members and just take those pills. You know, we got to stop that. Those are those type of things that, you know, just taking those 2 seconds, like Sheriff Cronster said, and just dumping them off at the sheriff's offices. Those are the big things. At any place that has a place where you can just, you know, very quickly go in and dispose of them. The Pasco Sheriff's Office in the past several years, we've removed over 6,400 pounds of prescription pills. And that's only during those takeoff days. We have locations, if you go on the Pasco Sheriff's Office site, we have those locations where you can go on to every day, go in there and dump them off. It doesn't have to be tomorrow, but it could be any day. When you're moving, you're cleaning them out, you're trying to do something, you find those pills, do something about it. But the other part Sheriff Cronster brought up was something that's important, and we talked about this. We had a conversation about our environmental crimes units. You want to help our environment, you know, don't put them down the toilet. Don't put them in the trash and think they're going to go to a dump. they're going to get in the system. They're going to harm pets. They're going to harm the fish. They're going to harm the environment. Those are those type of things that I said, it's making the small things make the big impact. So again, take those 2 seconds, get in your car, remove them properly, because if you don't, the negative long-term effects are horrible.
Well, thank you again for your attention to this matter. Part of the reason these types of events and these days are so important is not just the act of taking unwanted and unused medication. It's also raising awareness among the community of what can happen if these medications fall into the wrong hands, of what can happen if vaping devices fall into the hands of children. So we appreciate your attention in helping us spread this word throughout our community, raising the awareness and letting people know that tomorrow we will all recognize both federal and state law enforcement partners around the state, Drug Take Back Day. We appreciate you being here. We'd be more than happy to take any questions that you might have.
When you guys, obviously part of this is talking about the opioid crisis, when you all kind of take the pulse on where it stands here in the Tampa Bay region right now, how would you describe that to people watching this? Are we getting ahead of that fight, or is there still a long ways to go?
That's a terrific question. Thank you for asking it. As you know, the governor a few months ago created the statewide task force on drug abuse, and I was honored that he named me to chair that task force. One of the prime objectives, and one of the reasons when I ran for Attorney General, it was important to me to immediately establish a working group to examine where we are in Florida. And this has carried over into the effort of the statewide task force, is to see how we're doing in specific communities, whether we're seeing a decrease in our death rate. I can tell you from the time it took me to go from being a candidate for Attorney General, when I started talking about my experiences as a judge and seeing people come into the court gripped, unable to break loose from the devastating effects of addiction to opioids, we were losing 14 people a day. By the time it took me to take the oath as Attorney General, we started losing 17 people a day. We are frantically analyzing, and I've brought in a great team within my office, analyzing the counties around the state to determine the ones where we're seeing a decrease in death rates. What are the common practices? Are those supported by data? What can we take from each of those to come up with a best practice that if you take the limited amount of resources you have counties, and if you take the limited amount of resources you have state of Florida, and direct them into these areas, you will see a return for that investment. So I would say in Tampa, we are still struggling. I believe that the leaders here would support that statement. But that does not mean we aren't making progress in terms of building an active, data-driven, strategic approach to more collaboratively and aggressively attack the epidemic. And I think you will see steps taken over the next year and certainly into my administration that shows the rollout of what we can do as a state together.